Have you ever felt a deep calling to help others, even as you grapple with your own pain and challenges? If so, you may be a wounded healer. This term describes those who draw upon their personal experiences of suffering and healing to guide and support others on their own paths to wholeness. The path of the wounded healer is a unique and often solitary journey. It requires great courage to face one's own shadows and scars, and even greater compassion to use those experiences to ease the suffering of others. Yet for those who are drawn to this calling, it can be a profoundly meaningful and rewarding way of being in the world. In this video, we'll explore what it means to be a wounded healer. We'll look at the key characteristics and challenges of this path and offer guidance and inspiration for those who feel called to walk it. Whether you're a therapist, coach, teacher, artist, activist, or simply someone who feels a deep desire to be of service, there is wisdom here for you. At its core, the concept of the wounded healer recognizes that our deepest wounds can be the very source of our healing gifts. Those who have known pain and struggle firsthand often have a unique capacity for empathy, insight, and compassion. They can draw upon their own experiences to create a safe and understanding space for others to heal. This idea has deep roots in human history and culture. In ancient Greek mythology, the centaur Chiron was a great healer who could not cure his own wounds. In shamanic traditions around the world, it is often those who have gone through intense trials and ordeals who become the most powerful healers. And in modern psychotherapy, many of the most influential figures, from Carl Jung to Irvin Yalom, have emphasized the importance of the therapist's own humanity and vulnerability. At the same time, the path of the wounded healer is fraught with paradox. It requires a willingness to be with suffering, both our own and others, rather than turning away from it. It asks us to acknowledge our own limitations and imperfections, even as we offer guidance to others. It means learning to find strength in softness, power in vulnerability, and hope in the darkest of places. Becoming a wounded healer is not simply a matter of acquiring knowledge or skills, although those are certainly important. More fundamentally, it is an inner journey of growth, self-discovery, and transformation. It requires a deep commitment to one's own healing and wholeness. One of the first steps on this path is learning to face and make peace with our own wounds. This means having the courage to look honestly at our own pain, fears, and shadows, and to treat them with compassion rather than judgment. It means learning to accept and love ourselves just as we are, while also recognizing our potential for growth and change. Self-compassion and self-care are essential practices for the wounded healer. We cannot pour from an empty cup, and we cannot effectively hold space for others if we are not first tending to our own needs. This means making time for rest, play, creativity, and connection, and treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would extend to a dear friend. Ultimately, the wounded healer learns to see their own challenges and struggles not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. Each difficult experience, each moment of suffering, becomes a chance to deepen in wisdom, resilience, and empathy. In this way, the healer's own journey becomes an integral part of their healing work in the world. One of the greatest gifts of the wounded healer is their capacity for profound empathy. Having known suffering intimately, they are able to meet others in their pain with true understanding and acceptance. This empathy is not something that can be faked or forced, but rather arises naturally from a deep honoring of our shared humanity. The wounded healer knows how to listen with an open and loving heart. They create a space of safety and non-judgment, where others feel seen, heard, and validated in their experiences. They understand that true healing comes not from fixing or saving others, but from witnessing their innate wholeness and supporting their own unique journey. This kind of compassionate presence is a powerful catalyst for transformation. When we feel truly held and understood in our pain, we are more able to face it, move through it, and ultimately transcend it. In this way, the wounded healer becomes a midwife for the birth of new possibility and potential in those they serve. At the same time, empathy and compassion must be balanced with healthy boundaries and discernment. The wounded healer must learn to honor their own limits and capacity and to discern when someone is truly ready and willing to do their own inner work. They must also learn to trust the other's innate wisdom and strength rather than trying to control or direct their journey. As with any path of service and giving, the way of the wounded healer comes with its own unique challenges and pitfalls. One of the greatest risks is that of burnout, vicarious trauma, and compassion fatigue. Constantly holding space for others' pain and struggles can take a heavy toll, especially if the healer is not tending to their own self-care and support systems. There is also the temptation to use the role of healer as a way to avoid or escape one's own unresolved wounds and issues. The healer may become so focused on helping others that they neglect their own ongoing growth and healing. They may fall into patterns of codependency or saviorism, getting their sense of worth and identity from being needed by others. Another shadow tendency is that of spiritual bypassing, or using spiritual concepts and practices to avoid dealing with painful emotions, unresolved trauma, or practical life challenges. The wounded healer must be honest with themselves about their own limits and blind spots, and be willing to seek external support and professional help when needed. Ultimately, walking the path of the wounded healer requires a deep commitment to integrity, humility, and ongoing self-reflection. It means being willing to face one's own shadows and shortcomings again and again, in service of becoming a clearer channel for healing and transformation. Despite the challenges, walking the path of the wounded healer can be immensely fulfilling and meaningful. There is a deep joy and sense of purpose that comes from using one's own hard-won wisdom to make a difference in the lives of others. The very act of compassionate witnessing and holding space has profound healing power. When someone feels truly seen and accepted in their pain and struggle, it can help them to find the strength and resilience to keep going, to believe in themselves, and to connect with their own innate healing potential. For the wounded healer, this service becomes a way of transforming their own suffering into a gift for the world. They learn to alchemize their pain into greater wisdom, empathy, and insight. They come to trust that everything they've been through has a purpose, and that their unique journey has equipped them to be of service in a way that only they can. At the same time, the wounded healer must remember that they are not the one doing the healing. Rather, they are creating the conditions for healing to occur and trusting in the innate resilience and wisdom of those they serve. They learn to get out of the way and let the mystery unfold, knowing that each person's journey is their own. Ultimately, the path of the wounded healer is about aligning one's own gifts, passions, and experiences with the needs of the world. It's about saying yes to the call to serve, while also honoring one's own limits and humanity. It's about trusting that by showing up authentically and compassionately, we can be a force for healing and transformation in the world. For many wounded healers, spirituality and faith play a vital role in sustaining them on the path. A connection to something greater, whether that be God, spirit, nature, community, or simply a sense of life's inherent meaning, can provide a source of strength, guidance, and perspective in the face of great suffering and struggle. This connection can take many different forms, depending on the individual healer's beliefs and practices. For some, it may be a devotional relationship to a particular spiritual figure or tradition. For others, it may be a more general sense of trust in life's unfolding or a commitment to serving the highest good. Some may find sustenance in prayer, meditation, or spiritual community, while others may connect with the sacred through art, music, or time in nature. What is most important is that the healer's spirituality is authentic and meaningful to them, and that it supports rather than bypasses their own growth and healing. A grounded spirituality can provide a sense of purpose and perspective, reminding the healer that their work is part of something much larger than themselves. It can be a source of faith and resilience in times of doubt or despair, and can help the healer to stay centered in compassion and service. At the same time, the wounded healer must be mindful of not imposing their own spiritual beliefs or practices on those they serve. They must learn to honor and respect the diverse ways that others connect with meaning and purpose, and to create a space where all can feel welcome and accepted, regardless of their beliefs. Ultimately, spirituality for the wounded healer is about cultivating a deep trust in the healing power of love, compassion, and connection. It is about learning to see the sacred in all of life and to align oneself with the highest good, even in the face of great pain and suffering. It is about finding the faith to keep showing up day after day in service of a vision of wholeness and healing for all. The path of the wounded healer can be a lonely and isolating one at times. The healer may feel like they are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, or that no one else can truly understand the depth of their own journey. This is why building a strong support system and community is so essential for sustaining oneself on the path. One important form of support is having relationships with mentors, teachers, or elders who have walked the path before us. These wise guides can offer perspective, encouragement, and guidance when we feel lost or overwhelmed. They can help us to see our blind spots and challenge us to keep growing and evolving. Equally important are our relationships with peers and colleagues who share our path. Connecting with other wounded healers can provide a sense of belonging and validation, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles and triumphs. These relationships can be a source of mutual support, inspiration, and collaboration. In addition to one-on-one relationships, participating in groups, networks, or communities of healers can be incredibly nourishing and empowering. Whether it's a local meetup group, an online forum, or a professional association, finding ways to connect with others who share our values and commitments can help us feel part of a larger movement for healing and change. Beyond the healing community, it's also important for the wounded healer to have strong personal support systems in place. This might include close friends and loved ones who can offer a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, or simply a reminder to have fun and not take ourselves too seriously. It might also mean working with a therapist or counselor to process our own experiences and get an outside perspective. The key is learning to reach out for help and support when we need it, rather than trying to go it alone. The wounded healer must learn to receive as well as give, to lean on others as well as be leaned upon. This requires vulnerability, humility, and a willingness to let others see our own humanity and imperfections. Ultimately, building a strong support system and community is an essential part of self-care for the wounded healer. It helps us to stay grounded, centered, and connected to what matters most, even in the face of great challenges and struggles. It reminds us that we are part of a larger web of healing and wholeness, and that we are never truly alone on the path. Perhaps the most important thing for the wounded healer to remember is that the path is not a destination, but an ongoing journey of healing and growth. There is no finish line, no point at which we have it all figured out or have transcended all of our own wounds and limitations. Rather, the journey is one of constant learning, evolution, and deepening. This means learning to embrace the cyclical nature of healing, with its ebbs and flows, breakthroughs and setbacks. It means being patient and compassionate with ourselves when old patterns resurface or new challenges arise. It means trusting that even our missteps and failures can be opportunities for growth and learning. As the wounded healer walks the path over time, they may find that their understanding of healing itself evolves and deepens. They may let go of old ideas of what it means to be healed or whole, and instead come to trust in the inherent wholeness and okayness of all beings, just as they are. They may come to see that true healing is not about fixing or changing, but about loving and accepting what is. This deepening wisdom and compassion naturally extends to the healer's work with others. They become less attached to outcomes and more able to simply be present with what is. They trust more fully in the other's own innate healing potential and become more skillful at creating the conditions for that potential to unfold. At the same time, the wounded healer never stops being a student of their own life and journey. They remain committed to their own growth and evolution, knowing that this is the foundation of their service in the world. They embrace opportunities for new learning and insight and surround themselves with people and practices that support their ongoing development. Ultimately, the wounded healer learns to extend the same compassion and acceptance to themselves that they offer to others. They learn to honor their own humanity, limitations, and uniqueness, and to treat themselves with the same loving kindness they so naturally extend to those they serve. In this way, the healer's own journey becomes a living embodiment of the healing principles they teach and share. The path of the wounded healer is a challenging and rewarding one, full of both struggle and profound meaning. It asks us to face our own deepest wounds and shadows, and to use our hard-won wisdom in service of others' healing and growth. It requires great courage, compassion, and commitment to walk this path with integrity and heart. Yet for those who are called to this journey, it can be a source of immense fulfillment, purpose, and connection. By embracing our own humanity and vulnerability, we become a healing presence for others. By aligning our gifts and passions with the needs of the world, we become a force for transformation and change. If you feel called to the path of the wounded healer, trust that your own unique journey has prepared you for this role. Trust that your wounds and struggles have given you a depth of empathy and compassion that the world needs. Trust that by showing up authentically and wholeheartedly, you can make a difference in the lives of others. At the same time, remember that you are not alone on this path. Seek out the support, guidance, and community you need to sustain you on the journey. Surround yourself with people and practices that inspire and nourish you. And above all, treat yourself with the same loving kindness and compassion you so naturally extend to others. The world needs more healers who are willing to walk this path with courage, authenticity, and heart. May you trust in your own unique gifts and calling, and may you find joy and meaning in the journey of service and growth. Thank you for your presence and your willingness to show up for the healing of our world.